All right.
Okay,
Sorry
let
for
me
the
get
delay,
you
everyone.
adjusted.
Um, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Sean. I'm a strategic account manager here at eCore, and I will be your host for this meeting. And thank you all for attending. Before we get started, I would like to review a few housekeeping items with you. First and foremost, we are recording, so we will send the presentation to all attendees and all registrants. And if you have questions, please do not raise your hand. You can go ahead and put all of your questions in the Q&A field, and we will review everything at the end. So we are very, very excited to be co-hosting this event with Atlassian. And as you already know, we will review how Jira Work Management can be beneficial for all teams within your organization. We are one of the first partners to present this information with Atlassian, and we cannot wait to do so. Before I introduce you to our presenter, I did want to take a few seconds to inform you that eCore is an Atlassian solutions partner. We've been partnered with Atlassian since about 2005. And our story is that we purchased the Atlassian toolset to track our own internal projects in 2003 or 2004. And we like the product so much that we decided to partner with Atlassian to help expand their footprint. So this, combined with the fact that we do not have a high turnover rate with our consultants, means that our customers rely on us for best practices when it comes to Atlassian implementations, migrations, training sessions, and long-term support initiatives. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Ijeoma from Atlassian as our speaker today. So Ijeoma, feel free to tell everyone a bit about yourself and we can get going from there.
Hi, so my name's Ijeoma, and I'm a solutions engineer at Atlassian. I've been with Atlassian for about 4 years now, and I have recently, in the past couple quarters, transitioned over to a solutions engineering role, but I have been in an advisory role for my entire tenure here. I often talk to customers who are looking at new Atlassian solutions or considering migrating from our on-premise options to the cloud. So I've compiled some information for you about Jira Work Management and usage. And let's get to it. I'm going to share my screen. All right.
Right. I can see your screen.
Excellent. Okay. So as I've said, my name is Ijeoma. I'm solutions engineer at Atlassian. So most of you who are attending have probably used Jira or are currently using Jira. First off, thank you very much for being our customers. We look forward to delivering more value for your needs as part of our efforts to be a cloud-first company. So Jira, as you know, it has gone through several series of renames. Right now, when people refer to Jira, they tend to be talking about Jira software, or more recently, Jira Service Management. And you may have used or implemented Jira for an IT team. You might have done it for a customer service team. Maybe your development teams use Jira to track bugs and facilitate sprints and connect to their repositories of code. It's also possible that you've used Jira to track security incidents and vulnerabilities and remediation of those incidents. All of these use cases are ones that Atlassian uses internally as well. And I have discussions around all of them almost every day. Our customers have told us that managing work is becoming harder at scale. Having to balance cloud-only tools with legacy on-premise installations, updating and maintaining the security of their servers, keeping up to date with the pace of digital items and digital change and team growth is just getting harder. This is a major reason why 95% of our new customers choose to go with our cloud solutions. So there are a couple of other reasons why, and they are very significant. So I'm going to go over them. There is so much that you can do with Jira, as you know, and we have tried to expand upon that set of options with Jira Cloud. we've provided easier administration. So, right, that's the major appeal of the cloud, is that administration is easier because you don't have to be maintaining the back end. So no more maintaining infrastructure, no more finding time to update your version. We continuously take care of that in the cloud. We provide a financially backed uptime SLA, and it's 99.9% for our premium versions, 99.95% for our enterprise editions. And support is included in our cloud subscriptions. It offers you faster setup, and that makes things easier to spin up for the first time, but also to make changes. Just getting your cloud site created is a fully automated process. In about 10 minutes, your site should be functional, and you can go in there and start configuring things and get ready to go. We've also added a bunch more templates and project types so that creating new projects in your existing cloud instances is quicker. Jira Cloud offers continuous innovation. We are cloud first. Being in a cloud first company means for us that 90% of our R&D goes towards developing cloud and making it a better solution. So when you're in it, you get the latest and greatest. And our teams work fast. New features come out all the time, and they have regular sprint cadences. We have also added a premium feature called release tracks, because we know that getting continuous updates is not necessarily ideal for an enterprise. And release tracks lets you bundle those updates into a monthly cadence so that you can keep track of what's going on. Cloud offers instant scalability. As your team grows, Atlassian Cloud scales with you, and you can have up to 20,000 users in a single cloud site right now. We are working on expanding that amount, where our goal is for next year to have that amount at 35,000 and beyond. Jira Cloud offers really powerful integrations, and for those of you who are on or have previously used Jira Server, you might be thinking, well, there are so many restrictions when it comes to being in the cloud. And that is true. As part of our security posturing, we have blocked off some functionality in the cloud, but Jira Cloud has open REST APIs, just like Jira Server and Data Center, and they are extensive. We have also partnered with other industry leading SaaS solutions to provide integrations that are on par with the integrations that you've experienced on server. It used to be that there were more integrations on server because of that accessibility issue with the security layer, but we've been doing a lot of work to make that not the case anymore. And you'll find that if you visit our Atlassian Marketplace, for example, there are now more apps available for a cloud option than for on-premise. Something that we have introduced to Jira Cloud to really bolster all of the rest of these options is automation. So in 2019, we acquired CodeBarrel, and they are the makers of a very popular Atlassian Marketplace app called Automation for Jira. Now that they're a part of the Atlassian team, again, because they were Atlassians before and we just absorbed them back up, we've braided Automation for Jira into Jira Cloud natively. So now everybody can take advantage of code-free automation rules. You can use automation to build custom updates to your audit logs. You can set up conditional notifications. You can use triggers to drive issue actions based on other changes in Jira or elsewhere using webhooks, for example. And there's a lot more, but these are the highlights of Jira Cloud. So one more thing to mention about automation is that you don't have to start from scratch. If you want to streamline work, we do have an automation template library available online, and I've included the URL there, but it's easy to search for. And basically, you can search this for recipes, examples of things that you can do to avoid doing more manual labor in Jira. So let's get into the meat of it, right? Your technical teams are using Jira, but what about your business teams? So, right, high variability among business teams leads to having many disparate tools. Do you know what those tools are? can your marketing team communicate with your product team outside of something like Slack or Microsoft Teams? And do your business teams have visibility into the things that your technical teams are doing? Can they follow chains of correspondence and see the linkage of work items with each other? If you were to give business teams access to Jira as you have it right now, would they know what they were looking at? The reason why I ask these questions is because I talk to customers who are migrating from server to cloud all the time. And one of the things that they recognize is that they're migrating their technical teams and not necessarily their business teams. This creates a bit of a split dynamic. So their technical teams get the benefits of Jira Cloud. They've got specific feature requests, and their features were probably addressed in the previous tool that they were using if they came from something outside of Jira. But I've noticed that they know that Jira can help them do all of those things better. And that's why you've come to it, or that is why you're deciding to move to Jira Cloud. You've seen it before. You've maybe implemented it at a previous job, and maybe you've had it on a team in the past, or they have. But this isn't the case with the business teams I talk to. So when I'm talking to central IT folks and we get to the subject of their business teams, here are things that tend to come up. They're still using spreadsheets to track their work. Communication is done entirely over email or Slack or Teams. Many people do not have, well, they have defined workflows, but those workflows don't live with the work. The status of work has to be manually tracked and communicated and against those workflows. And at busy times, that is a problem. When things get busy, this tracking falls by the wayside, and it leaves you with this complicated, disorganized, and often difficult to understand tangle of work being done by different people. So I want to say, right, I introduced that problem because I want to explain that it doesn't have to be that way. We understand that bringing business teams into Jira as you know it right now might not make sense for you. There are fields and features that your business teams will never use. They don't need connections to developer tools. They're what's a fixed version to them, right? The concept of an SLA may not be useful to them, and maybe it is from the customer side, but like in all likelihood, it is not. So we've been working on a solution for marketing, finance, operations, design, etc. teams who want the benefits of Jira without the extraneous feature sets and the configuration complexity that comes with those extraneous feature sets. This way, we hope that we have made it accessible to business teams and enabled you to bring them into the fold with Jira Work Management.
Just to compliment there, Ijeoma, this is something that we're hearing a lot of too. You know, a lot of the common pain points, right? You know, if we're talking to someone in marketing, for example, it's like, yeah, you know, like we do need to talk to the product management teams here and there, right? For some campaigns that we're doing, but we don't need, you know, all of the bells and whistles that come with Jira software. So like, you know, at a certain point, it's like, do we just, you know, deal with the problem with communication, or, you know, do we deal with the technicality that's involved with Jira software, right? So it's good to know that a solution like Jira Work Management is out there to kind of solve that problem, so they don't have to sacrifice communication over something that's more technical.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hear things like that from people too, because a lot of people don't realize that Jira Work Management is a thing.
Yeah, totally.
And yeah, we debuted Jira Work Management at Team 21, which was last year in April. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we're still trying to make sure that people are aware of it. The point of Jira Work Management was it is our effort to make it possible for business teams to use Jira for all types of teams, right? It is exclusive to Atlassian Cloud. So it is a reimagining of what we had originally debuted as Jira Core, or the Jira platform, as anybody who had previously implemented it sometime within the past decade or so knows. What people will notice about Jira Work Management is that it is the Jira they know, right? But we have added new views and functions to meet a variety of business teams' needs. So our focus is to deliver value to business teams from day one without the minutia of those added functionalities that they're not going to use. They can just dive in and get started as a non-technical team, and they can find things quickly, they can effectively manage priorities and just cut through what would ordinarily be bureaucracy.
That's great.
So I have thought about this, and right, one of the biggest benefits to bringing Jira Work Management into the fold is that it lets you centralize your tooling. I'd mentioned that with business teams, they tend to mention a bunch of different tools that different business teams are using, and central IT may or may not be aware of them. So we're going to go over what the advantages are of tool centralization within Atlassian Cloud. First off, there's the obvious one: less tools means less vendors. So you're talking to less people. Jira Work Management automatically integrates with your other Atlassian Cloud tools. So there's less integrations to maintain or create or vet. And I mentioned that bit about central IT, not necessarily knowing what tools the business teams are using. And I want to paint a picture real quick. So you're moving from server to cloud, or maybe you're doing something like implementing Atlassian Access in the cloud for SSO and user provisioning and user management at scale, right? And here's what happens. In the process of setting that up, the company looks at its overall Atlassian Cloud footprint, because you have to claim a domain, and it looks for all of the users who are in Atlassian Cloud with your company's domain. What often happens is that people are shocked because they find out how many business teams throughout their organization are using random instances of our cloud tools like Trello or like Jira Software Cloud Free, and they didn't know about it. What happened is that business teams needed better organization and efficiency, and they took matters into their own hands, but outside of the governance of IT. So I really recommend that IT get ahead of that, be proactive about it, and be reactive if you have to be, but address the issue to get cross-team visibility and the benefits of our tools within the umbrella of the governance and security considerations that central IT would make. Regarding visibility, that is something that reduces the instances of rework. So if you have a central source of truth and everybody can find work, they can search for historical data, they can see what other people are doing, and then two people aren't going to end up doing the same thing. So searching for everything in one place rather than 4 or 5 is a huge benefit here. Transparency is related to that, right? When your teams are within the same ecosystem, it's easier to see what each other are up to. And that especially works with our licensing model for Jira, right? Me, for example, in a lot of my team's instances, I'm just a Jira user, not necessarily a Jira Service Management user or agent or a Jira software user, but as a Jira user, with the correct permissions, I'm able to jump in and, even if I can't edit anything, see what they're working on and keep other people up to date. It's better than having to manually communicate the status of work. And in the case that I do need to edit things, this lends towards easier collaboration. So when you bring business teams into Jira and they gain better familiarity with the tool, that increases visibility because now they understand what they're looking at. The chain of interdependence between work items is not just visible to them anymore, it's coherent. And rather than them having to seek somebody out and ask why X, Y, and Z hasn't been shipped yet, they can just see it. We know that teamwork is most effective when teammates understand how their work impacts the bigger initiative, the overall goal. But there is another benefit to having your business teams and technical teams share, for example, a Atlassian cloud site. So you bring your business teams into an existing site. That means that you can take advantage of shared architecture and shared configuration. This way, work can flow between your technical and business teams easily and more cohesively. Existing configuration like notification schemes, automation rules, workflows and permission schemes, well, workflow schemes as well. There's a bunch of different schemes in Jira Cloud, and I'm sure you are familiar. You can just apply these to new business projects, and that makes it really fast to get them up and running under your current practices. And I mentioned, right, that with our licensing, Jira Work Management users are Jira users. So they're still able to interact with other Jira users, and you can configure exactly what they are capable of doing in projects that are not belonging to their team. The common architecture between Jira Software, Jira Service Management, and Jira Work Management and Confluence allows for information to flow and people to flow easily between them. So I'm going to show you an example now of what that collaboration and integration looks like. In this example, I've put together a group of teams. The team that is working in Jira Work Management is primarily non-technical, but the other teams are a variety of things. I'm going to introduce you to a person I call Sarah. And Sarah is based off of a number of conversations that I've had with marketing teams using Jira. She is a product marketing manager, and she's working on a webinar right now to communicate information about an upcoming product launch across a large customer base. Sarah's team uses Jira Work Management to track tasks, but that work depends on tasks that need to be handled by those other teams. With the other teams being in product, email services, content design, etc., they are also using Jira and Confluence. So Sarah has end-to-end visibility over her workflow and its dependencies. Let's take a look. So first off, whether or not she's working on an email campaign or planning a webinar or writing a blog post, Sarah's process can follow the same general workflow. And this workflow is not exclusive to marketing. You could use a similar workflow, for example, if you are onboarding teams as an HR team or onboarding new employees as an HR team. You start out with your to-do status and you have a set of issue types that have been created for your project. In the case of marketing, her issue types are webinar, campaign, and blog. So she starts out by creating an issue type with the type webinar. Now, to promote that webinar, she needs to let people know about it. So she logs a request with the email services team. And they have a Jira Service Management portal. Now, that Jira Service Management ticket gets linked back to her original request, and it needs to go through a chain of approval to get on the schedule and get to the relevant customer list. So that team starts working on that while she is working on her main project. While she is waiting for that email service request to be approved, Sarah creates a Confluence page and she links it back to her task. On her Confluence page, Sarah outlines her next steps. She places them on a roadmap using a roadmap macro, and she links each individual task back to a corresponding subtask that she's housed under her first webinar task. All of her relevant dates, stakeholder names, and her content outline is decided here. For pending work items, she uses the Confluence integration to turn theoretical subtasks into new Jira issues. Sarah's product team is also in Confluence, and webinars take a while to create. So while she is working on it, her product team can have input and visibility into what she is working on. So if something becomes out of date, they can say it right there. And that way, when she finally delivers this webinar, it will still be up to date and correct for the customers looking at it. So now email marketing email marketing, well, email services has approved her request. Their JSM project is utilizing an automation rule, and it notifies Sarah. When it notifies Sarah, it also looks at the issue, the original issue in her other project, and on the condition that her first couple subtasks have been completed, it transitions the issue for her to in progress. While all of that is happening, Sarah is busy selecting speakers, and she gives them access to Confluence as well. She starts working on her content with them. Once that content is in a good place and she knows what things are going to look like, the title of the webinar, and what she's going to be talking about, she sends out a request to her design team to make a landing page for the webinar. And they are using Jira Work Management and a project form, which I will show you later on in this presentation. Her content is finalized, but the design team is working with her, so they get to see that content as it is finalized, both for the webinar and for the landing page copy, and they get ready to post it. When they post it and change their status in Jira, they have an automation rule attached to that issue that lets her know. That automation rule takes a look back at the original task, just like the previous one. And now that the necessary set of subtasks to prepare for the webinar's delivery have been completed, and the design team notes that it's done with her landing page, that automation rule gets triggered. The conditions of everything else being completed allows the automation rule to transition her status into a status of waiting for a final review. And Sarah is notified again. So her manager is notified additionally, and that manager is the person who has to complete the review. While her manager reviews the webinar package, Sarah notifies her sales team because they need to know what's going on and sends them the Confluence page to give them context and debrief them. So now the sales team is looped in and knows the context and the content of her webinar and when it will be delivered and available to customers. They can now start prompting people to sign up on that landing page. Once her manager has finished reviewing the work and that has been approved, Sarah is again notified, and she can proceed to delivering her webinar with confidence that everything has been thoroughly taken care of in the background. So that was an example of how integrations within our tools in Atlassian Cloud can be used for her use case, right? And that is extensible to many sets of use cases, but there are also a lot of integrations that we have available with third-party tools.
So Ijeoma, it kind of sounds like what work management is doing is it's allowing business teams to be able to communicate with other technical teams, but it's not really letting them know what's going on in the back end with all of those other technical teams. They're just, getting their updates. They're able to comment and communicate, but they're not seeing all of that extra technical stuff. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate. If they wanted to see the technical stuff, they have the access to do so. They can
Cool.
open up those other Jira projects and peep in to see what's going on. But when they get the notifications that they need, that is all extra.
Awesome.
So that's also relevant to the situation because no matter what you do, there is still work that has to be done outside of Atlassian Cloud, right? We don't cover absolutely everything. And we have partnered with a variety of industry-leading third-party software SaaS providers, including all of the ones in this list. So we've made sure that these integrations work. They have either official apps with support from the team that created them, available in our Atlassian marketplace, or a native integration that is available from the other vendor. And so even if they don't see into the product, by they, I mean the people working in Jira Work Management, even if they don't see directly into the other product, they will still get notifications and information about relevant things going on in that other tool. I should note, right, that sometimes setting up third-party integrations is an effort. And that's something that our customers frequently rely on solutions partners like eCore to set up and configure for them, because it really saves you time if, when you are getting set up and configured on the front end, somebody else is taking care of all of these. Also, eCore has partnerships and discounts with a variety of popular marketplace apps other than these. So if you are interested in taking a look at those and what the possibilities are for connecting all of your tools, you should contact them and talk about it before you get started on your own. So I'm going to show you inside of the product, because there are a few things that that I mentioned are new in Jira Work Management, which you would not have seen before. And I can quickly go over what those items are beforehand. Jira Work Management incorporates a list of new views. These views are the list view, the board view, which you might recognize in some form from Jira software, the calendar view, the timeline view, again, which you might recognize from Jira Software Cloud specifically, and the form view. And let me change my screen sharing preferences real quick so you can see what I am talking about. All right. Can you see everything fine, Sean?
I can see everything perfect. I see the board there.
All right, we're going to go back to the list view. So what the list view does is it's effectively a default table view with all of your existing issues. By default, it shows you issues that are not done yet, but that is something that you can change because this view is filterable. So if I want to display done items, there they are. Let me just clear those filters real quick. Now here is an overall task, which I've called webinar new product launch. And these are all subtasks tasks that would be involved in the creation of said webinar. It's not a checklist. That's important to note. You can see that little checklist icon here. That's just an icon denoting a task, and it's something that can be changed. This is more of a mission control for the project itself. You can change any of these values from this view, including transitioning issues. So if I want to take this from in progress to the status where it's ready for review, I can do that here, and I can do it very quickly. This is where you would want to do things like change the priority of issues. If it's suddenly extremely important that Harvey get that community post written and out, you can change that from medium to critical right here. Also, you can sort your items by their priority, just to give you a better order of operations.
So, Ijeoma, quick question. If I am assigned to a task and someone shifts the priority from like low to critical, would I get an email letting me know? Just because I might not be looking in Jira 24/7, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. So it depends, right? Jira Work Management works off of notification schemes, just like the rest of Jira Cloud. Also, automation rules can be tied into this. You can configure Jira such that you will get a notification when the priority field specifically changes for any issue that you are assigned to. So that's absolutely something that can be configured in the background.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Besides what we've seen on the list view so far, right, since I can manipulate any field, I could show you all of that, but you can see what is currently available. You're able to add more fields by clicking that plus button and change the order of any of these columns, sort by the order of any of these columns by clicking the little arrow besides them. I'm going to move on to the next view, the board view. So this view is not particularly new. This was a view that was available in our previous iteration, which was Jira Core, and we used to call them core boards. The point of the core board is to give business users a Kanban style view of work in the workflow And you can drag and drop items between workflow statuses from just using this area. One thing to note is that you can only drag and drop issues to a status that it makes sense to move it to, as in that status has a transition in the workflow. So I can drag it to in progress, but I can't necessarily take something directly from the backlog and put it in review. The board will govern that. If you want to create a new issue from this view, you can just click on that Create Plus button. And that is something that is available in all of our views. Each of the views in the left side navigation bar of Jira Work Management or business projects does give you the opportunity to create issues quickly. You can see a little icon denoting who this is shared with. And when you hover over that little tree right there, you can see that only 2 of the 11 child issues for this task have been completed. This is also filterable. So if you want to filter by what's assigned to you, or filter by what is due most recently, or create another filter or add another filter by a field, you can do that here. Let's move over to the calendar view. So this view is pretty simple. What you are looking at is a view of what is due to be done when, or what is being worked on when. The color depends on whether or not an issue has been in line with your projections for it. For example, WCM 10 is supposed to end on September 30th, but that issue has been marked as complete. Since it hasn't been marked as being done, it's red. And that tells you that something is overdue. Things that are blue are either in progress or not overdue. And you can see this little clock icon next to the assignee telling you that time's ticking. To create a new issue in this view, you just click on the day, and the Create Issue view will pop up with all of the regular options that you'd normally see. Another thing to mention, this view is filterable, just like the other ones. Click on the filter button and select your quick filters. You can include done items if that's something that you'd like to see, and done items are marked as green in line with the color of their workflow status. I just clear that. And let's move along to the timeline. So this timeline might look familiar to you. If you have used Jira Software Cloud within the past couple of years, you will have seen this timeline in a couple different places. At first, it was only available in our team managed software projects, and now it is available in both team managed and company managed software projects. This timeline is a basic Gantt chart, and it gives you visibility over everything that's going on in the project and what the dependencies inside of the project are. So the way that this works is, if you want to create a dependency between 2 items, you hover over the little link and you'll find a link button. You can click and drag it over to another issue. If for some reason that link doesn't make sense, for example, if you have an item that depends on another issue, but the dependent issue starts before the issue it depends on, that link is going to show up as red. It's pretty simple, but it's nice to be able to see what is waiting on what and what that's going to look like going forward. You can scroll through this view if you want, and you can sort it by weeks. You can view quarters if you need a more wide view. And if you want to click on any of the individual items in that view, click on the name, and an overlay with the task or subtask will show up. The coloration of these items is dependent on its workflow status. Just so that you're aware, I realize I didn't cover that yet. Other than that, right, you have the same usual controls over all the views in Jira Work Management, the ability to filter, the ability to set a couple of things like showing done items or not, and you have the ability to export this view. It exports as an image. The next view I'm going to show you is the form view. And I've actually made a form view in a design team area in line with the example that I gave you earlier. So I'm going to pop over there. So, right, this form view is a way for Jira users to submit new issues to a Jira Work Management project. The form view is attached to one issue type, and every time it's submitted, it will create that new issue type. So if it's task, it creates a task. This field can be edited very easily. It is drag and drop. So if you have a field over here, well, if you have an open field over here, you can move it over here and it will create a little entry box for people to add information. When you are done configuring this request form, you can share it with other Jira users. I want to draw a distinction here, right? This is not a portal. Jira Service Management has a portal that you can set up for any given project. And that portal has the ability for you to create different issue types for different purposes and have your own separate forms. This is not that. This is more of just a simple way to give somebody who has Jira access and is a Jira user, not a customer, like in Jira Service Management, the ability to create an issue quickly without having to click the create form, because this form looks a lot more complicated. When you share the link, this is what the form looks like. So there are all of my fields, and you have the ability to add attachments when you create it. It's pretty straightforward. And, I think that means we have covered all 5 of the views. So all 5 of those views are available in any business project for Jira Work Management. And all Jira Work Management business projects are company managed projects. By the way, there are 2 types of projects in our other tools, team managed and company managed, but that's not something that yet applies to Jira Work Management.
So,
go ahead.
Ijeoma, just we had a couple of questions about the demo that you gave. So before we wrap that up, it might just be easiest to answer those questions first before we switch back. So whenever you're ready, just let me know.
All right, and those are in the Q&A area, yes?
Yes, I got you.
Okay.
So the first question is, how would I access the list view?
So the list view is pretty easily accessible. It's just to access it, you just click on this link on the left side navigation bar. It may be that you have that navigation bar closed because you can collapse it to simplify what you're looking at. But it is here by default in every business project. So if you do not see it, you are not in a business project.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so the other one is we implemented Reich for marketing earlier this year, and we're wishing that we were all under the same Atlassian umbrella. Would we be able to see JWM's creative review and approval process? So if you want, Ijeoma, I could take that one. I don't know if we're going to be able to show that with the limited time that we have. My recommendation would be that perhaps we could reach out to the individual that raised this question and give them more of a one-on-one demo so that we can explain that further. And that goes for anyone else as well. If there's something here that we didn't get the chance to touch on, or you're looking to see something a little different, we could always offer that service to you. So we'll make note of that. Okay.
Yeah, and it's definitely going to make more sense in that context because that approval process is a condition that I set up in the workflow. And it was pretty quick to set up, but it's not something that has a stark visual. But it is just a workflow condition that I set up for this project.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. So we do have a couple other questions, but they're not related to the demo specifically. So I think we can move forward with whatever you've got planned next.
Yeah, I can answer that next one after this. But sure. This is, let me change my screen sharing preferences real quick. Let's go back to the slideshow. So we've covered all of these. I had individual slides for each of the views, but I decided to stay inside the product because it makes more sense. That actually covers everything else about this presentation. And to wrap this up, I would just like to mention that Jira Work Management can be used not just by non-technical teams, but technical teams, right? If you find that the tools available in Jira Work Management are enough for you, and that is all you need in order to manage projects and keep track of tasks, feel free to use it for those purposes. It has most of the other functionality that you have seen in Jira software, and some of the functionality that you have seen in Jira Service Management. But at core, it does task tracking and work management for all teams. I have demoed Jira Work Management to teams who want to use it for HR onboarding purposes, and I led them through what it would take in order for them to connect to other tools and notify relevant people and have requests go out to other teams, and this in a way very similar to Sarah's example earlier. So whether or not it is the right tool for your technical team or not technical team really depends on your needs. But I think I've given a pretty comprehensive view of what all of the important features are. And now we can take additional questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to review everything and give us the demo. It was really easy to digest. So thank you for doing that.
No problem.
All right. So we've got 2 more questions. I know we're a minute over, but you shouldn't take too long to answer. So the first is, I already have business projects in Jira software. Why should I buy Jira Work Management?
So to answer this quickly, right, Jira Work Management as a license on its own lets you have people who are just Jira users. They cost different than Jira Service Management agents and Jira software users. They are less expensive. So you can bring people into the fold, and you may not see new things because you already have business projects in Jira software and Jira Service Management. But those people, since they have less capabilities than Jira software and Jira Service Management, don't hit the bank as hard. This also lets you separate out visibility more. They are a new group of users with a different sort of product access. Something that is important to note is that you may not always have business projects available with Jira Service Management and Jira software. So that is something that could change in the future. And there are discussions around aligning products to what people are using them for.
Great. Thank you for clarifying. So the last question that we have is, when it comes to work management for business users, what is the difference between Jira Work Management and Trello, and which should I choose?
Yeah, so that's a really good question, because Trello is another one of our products that's great for non-technical teams and some technical teams. But the major difference that I found with people is that if you need structure, choose Jira. So Trello is really easy to use. It's really easy to set up, and it's pretty. But without a lot of deliberation, it can be chaos. You can move anything anywhere. You can change colors. You can change who is assigned to what they can currently see. Also, there's a very simple permission structure in Trello. And Jira has a very granular permission structure. You can change permissions at the issue level, at the project level, and at the global level. And in Trello, you can say whether or not a board is private or public. So it is a different level of structural need if you are looking at Jira Work Management versus Trello.
Got it. Yeah, and that's something that, I think that eCore can help with too. If you're kind of, not sure between one or the other, you could definitely hop on a call with us and we can help you choose which product is best for you. So I think that wraps it up for questions. And before closing up, we'd like to invite everyone to our annual conference. It's called eCore Connections, and it will be held on December 9th of 2021. And it will be a day filled with keynotes and sessions, as well as opportunities to connect with technology leaders and peers. So if you're interested in learning more about Jira Work Management or about this event, you can feel free to set up a 30-minute consultation to speak with one of us at eCore. We could talk about how we can help you transform, build, scale, and sustain your organization. So I hope the webinar was valuable, and I hope it was useful to you and your business. And if you want to stay tuned for more valuable content, you can follow us on social media, and you can take a look at our website when you have the opportunity. So thank you so much to everyone for your time and attention, and we'll see you next time. Stay safe.